Spider-Man and the PS5 have been a lot of the conversation over the last couple of weeks. I have made multiple videos on Spider-Man, and I guess I'm gonna make one more because some more news then came out. And this one doesn't have nothing to do with Miles Morales, but it does have something to do with Sony. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Forte, and thank you for checking out this video. Please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you head over to Twitter, follow me over there. It's the best place to talk to me as a gamer, and we can talk about the things we don't talk about in this video. So now, unless you haven't been paying attention, there has been a lot of news about Spider-Man over the last 24 hours, and it's for good reason, because Sony put out a nice little post that basically said this: your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man comes to the Marvel Avengers exclusively on PlayStation. Crystal Dynamics offers early details on its own unique take on post-launch hero. Now, what does that mean? Well, all the characters are free that are going to release on this game when it comes out in September. But the bigger thing is you have to have a PlayStation platform if you want to play as your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And a lot of people don't like that. Let's be honest, Spider-Man is probably the biggest character in Marvel right now. Ever since Tom Holland's interpretation of the hero, it has gone to enormous heights, and you cannot deny that. Civil War was basically the start of it, all the way through Infinity War and Endgame. Man, it did Homecoming. Even if you didn't like it as a movie, it was still, well, to me, it was great and I loved it. But that is beside the point. We are talking about video games here, and Sony had just came off of one of the most successful games of this generation with Marvel Spider-Man. It is by far the most sold game on the PlayStation 4, and that cannot be denied. So what's going on here? How do we get to this point? How does Sony, who has the movie rights to Spider-Man, also get the character rights for him to be only on PlayStation in a third-party game? Man, it's pretty crazy. But listen, a lot of this stuff may have been brokered in the deal between PlayStation, Marvel, and Disney on the very early end of when Marvel wanted to be able to have their version of Spider-Man, which was the Tom Holland version, integrated into the MCU. So Sony probably went to them and said, that's absolutely fine. We want to share in some of the revenue that we're going to get off of it, but this Spider-Man is still our Spider-Man. You still have to come to us if you want to be able to use this version of Spider-Man in your MCU. Marvel definitely went along with this because they did get the Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man in the MCU for 5 movies. You know, they got him in there for Civil War, both Avenger Endgame and Infinity War, and then he also got him in for the 2 movies that Sony was doing, which the last one was Homecoming, and those were all a part of the MCU. So another part of that deal probably was the fact that they can get the marketing rights and the deal to be able to use Spider-Man as an exclusive IP on the PlayStation 4, and that's where Marvel Spider-Man enters at, the game that Zombiac Games made, and they weren't first party at that time. They were still a third-party dev that was just doing basically second-party work, and guess what? Sony went out and purchased them. Now, Sony owns that version of Spider-Man. Now, they don't own Spider-Man in general. They still only own the movie rights to him. They don't own the video game rights. But that version of Spider-Man with the white spider on his suit, the Insomniac imagination of Spider-Man, that's what they own. So as you guys can see, there is a lot of complexity and a lot of moving parts that's going on in this negotiation, and I don't have full clarity and I don't know exactly what's going on. This is all speculation on my half, but this is all speculation that is basically just known off of what we do know about what they actually put out there. The fact that in this tweet they say their own version of Spider-Man means that they're probably not going to be using the Spider-Man that Insomniac Games created. They're basically saying we're using Spider-Man in general. And right now, it might be the fact that Sony just has some type of video game rights, maybe for the first couple of games, to saying that we can make a Spider-Man game, pretty much like how EA has the rights to Star Wars, and nobody else can make a Star Wars game right now. Now, if Disney wanted somebody else to make a Star Wars game, they would have to go to EA and say, hey, can we let somebody else produce a Star Wars game? And guess what? EA does have a say in that. It may not be the final say, but they do have a say in it. And that's the same thing I believe is happening right now with Spider-Man, because let's be for real, Spider-Man is huge for Sony. They want to sell PS5s. Jim Ryan said, we want to move as many people over from the PS4 to the PS5 as soon as possible. And this is another way of doing it. And the next step that you make is you make Miles Morales PS5 exclusive only. You don't let it play on PlayStation 4 because you want to move as many people over to the PS5 as humanly possible. Second, with the Avenger game, you go to them and say, hey, why won't we just give you a little bit more money? You don't put it on Xbox. You can still sell the game over there, but the Spider-Man character is exclusive to PlayStation platforms. Especially since it's an add-on DLC character and not part of the main story, it won't interfere with major parts of the game in general. And guess what? Marvel probably looked at it, was like, yeah, that's fine. You know, we'll do that, especially if the money's right. On top of that, we don't know what the back-end deal with Sony and video game publishing when it comes to Spider-Man as a character. We don't know if they have an exclusive right to Spider-Man over the course of some years or a couple of games. So this is very, very tricky. No one really truly knows what's going on but the two entities that actually brokered this deal between Disney, Marvel, and PlayStation themselves. The one thing I'm going to tell people is, if you are interested in playing with Spider-Man, buy a PlayStation 4, because guess what? If you want to play next generation Spider-Man, you got to get a PS5, and that's just the way it is. It's unfortunate that this is a thing, but it's business. And just like in the last generation, when it came to Xbox, we were loving games like Mass Effect, Ninja Gaiden. We're loving all those games being exclusive to the Xbox 360, and then that exclusivity finally ran out, and some of those games ended up over on the PlayStation 3. And guess what? It may happen the same way with this. We don't know. We don't know what the inner workings is, as I said, but it's business. So we can't get mad when one company does a business deal that's smart for them, but seems anti-consumer versus what the competitor is doing, especially when they're making all their content basically easy to access no matter where you are. But that's all I got, guys. What do you guys think about this video? Please talk to me in the comment section. How do you feel about Spider-Man being exclusive to the PlayStation 4 and 5 ecosystem when it comes to Avengers? Definitely want to hear what you got to say about that. Check out my last video. Went over a lot of the stuff about Halo, as again, 120 frames per second. Went over the fact that it's free to play everywhere. Another one of those Microsoft very consumer moves, and it was definitely the right move to make for Halo in general. So let's talk about that in the comment section too. And you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you in the next video. Peace.